This film, we think this film is so, we loved it so much, so I believe you did as well. It's so current, it's so provocative in its moment, in terms of the age that we're in terms of how we think about celebrity and attention and what people do with it. And it's such an incredibly nuanced, fascinating look. It had a very interesting history to come together. It's been a while. If you could actually help tell us about that.
Okay, well, there's the long version and the short version, and we have so much terrain to cover. I'll try to make it short. So the project is actually 6 years in the making. I've been on the film for 2 years, and I think I'm the 6th director, though I thought I was the 5th director, and then there was another team that popped up recently. It started with Al Maisels and Oliver Stone approaching Russell, I think around Forgetting Sarah Marshall, around the VMAs, and to make a documentary. And as we know, Al Maisels just passed away, so we just lost him. So it's particularly touching to be putting the film out that he started. It didn't work out for them and Russell for various reasons. And then it was other teams, a team Seth Gordon brought on that are incredibly talented filmmakers. And actually South by filmmakers, Clay and Luis, were on this film. They slugged through it. Gareth Roy was what team for a while. Russell took over the film and directed it for a while. He was seeking happiness because he was really dissatisfied with the newfound fame that he'd found. But when I got the rough cut, they said, "Can you save this movie?" By then, it was long out of the filmmaker's hands that I mentioned, and it just turned into this thing that I saw, and I didn't really even know who Russell Brand was. My manager called me, and I said, "Is that Katy Perry's boyfriend, ex-boyfriend?" Because I don't follow the tabloids. And she said, "Well, that's the guy, but they were divorced and married and divorced." And I said, "Oh, okay," because I had seen the Katy Perry film. They were considering me to direct that, and that's the only way I knew him. So I went down to tell the production team what I thought they could do to make it better, but I didn't see in the footage really how I could make a great film out of it. But then Russell was in the room, and he really blew my mind in the room, his intelligence, his charisma, and I got upset that magic wasn't in that rough cut that I'd seen. It just wasn't there, and I had dismissed him because of that cut, and it got me engaged. He pursued me then and asked me to come to a stand-up show, and that was the beginning of writing the Messiah Complex, and that's where I could see how I could look at the role of ego and narcissism and having us step out of line in fleeting fame versus immortality, what it takes to live a meaningful life. So many themes that I myself am interested in, consumer culture, politics today. I just felt like I could do this, but I would need creative control, and it would need to be about Russell, and those were two hurdles we had to get over together, which we did. And so the last 2 years, of course, I didn't know the truths would happen, or you'd write a book. We were deep in post-production, and my team, who I should right now have stand up, Alex Haddon, Brooke Mueller, Nick Corcoran, the editing team, David Timoner, please stand up, my brother, Tim Rush, amazing to have with me, Clay Zimmerman, Lucy, stand up, Taylor, they're all in the house. Anybody and everybody who worked on this film, Peter, stand up, Merritt, stand up, Svetlana, thank you. Anyone who I've forgotten, Michael Donaldson, who helped us figure our way out of that archival situation. So many teammates, so thank you for that. And then we had, of course, a lot of issues along the way with just how raw and personal this is for Russell. And once he gave me creative control, it was a tug of war, because he then knew that anything I filmed, I had free reign to use. So that was a very challenging and interesting film. But I like characters like this, right? So, and I like challenges.
We have 2 microphones in the aisles here. If you'd like to come up and ask a question, please come down to the microphone. And you guys up top, too, you can come on down and ask a question at the microphone. Yes?
Ondi.
Hello.
I sat through this film wanting to resist it in my gut. I kept not wanting to believe that he was real. And I have to tell you, you did it, okay, for me.
Thank you.
My question is, now this is not the first time that you have made a film about a person like this. In Dig, you had 2 narcissistic egomaniacs. In Hive, Russell has something in common with those people, and I would like you to tell me what it is that they had in common that attracted you to make this kind of movie.
It's, thank you for that question. They're all impossible visionaries. I seem to be a magnet for them, luckily. Anton, you know, I was filming 10 bands, and I heard the music of the Brian Jonestown Massacre, and my brother and I went to film them, and he said to me, forget about those other bands, I'm taking over your documentary. And I thought, yeah, right, you know, within 6 months he had. What does Russell have in common? He's just impossible in terms of he sets sights. A journalist asked me this the other day, don't you think his goals are unrealistic? And I said, I don't even know how to answer that because I don't believe in limiting goals. I don't think that you can really make any change happen of significance if you don't set your sights and your goals way out there. And if you look at history, the people that have made the greatest changes in the world have seemed absolutely like crazy, you know, impossible. And little by little, like Gandhi said, they win. So I'm not gonna dismiss Russell out of school in any way. And if anything, I was really attracted to telling the story because to me, more so than Anton, and more so than Josh Harris when we live in public, and more so than Bjorn and Kulit, Russell his journey encapsulates a transformation that is heroic, remarkable. And I think it will be inspiring to people, and hopefully the audiences will, and especially young audiences, maybe will avoid some of the pitfalls that he fell into because we are marketed these ideas of what will make us happy, and they're false. And we all know that. We know that, but it's in our faces every day, and seeing somebody like Russell, seeing his life journey, it's just, I think it's more powerful than you could ever, you know, than telling somebody. So, but anyway, I'm babbling. What's the next question?
Go ahead.
Yes.
Okay. Hello.
Right here, this person first.
What? Oh, sorry, I'm like looking for the Muppets or something. Just first off, fantastic, and I loved it. So thank you for coming. I was curious why you decided to set the story structure as you did. I don't know a whole lot about documentaries. This is the first one I've seen first off by. And you decided kind of to show how he was a drug addict to revolutionary. And I was just curious what made you decide to go that route. But also, was there anything in the film that you felt like you really wish you had put in there or you wish you hadn't put in there?
Wow, that's a burrito of a question.
Sorry.
In a town that has good Mexican. Okay, so to answer the first part, actually the second part's what stuck with me though, stuff that I wish I put in. There are so many gems editing this film, and that's why we put the middle finger in. I mean, thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of editing. That was edited, whoa, you know, and there's so much that we had to leave behind that are just equally incredible. So the answer to that is, yeah, plenty that I love that I would have put in, but I'm very happy with what we do have in, and there were a couple things I took out for Russell for ethical reasons and worked with him. So of course those things, you know, might remain near and dear to me in my director's cut in my own personal drawer at home. And the first part of the question, what was it, Janet?
She was asking about documentary structure,
oh, documentary
a drug
structure.
addict
Okay.
to revolutionary.
Well, you know what? I really believe that form should follow the content. So every one of my films looks and feels like the subject. I'm not looking around for inspiration. It's all right there. So like, I shot a lot of Super 8 for this, for example, because that textured look, that nostalgia with Russell, it works. With We Live in Public, totally didn't work. With Russell's story, drug addict, sex addict, Hollywood star, married a pop star, oh my gosh, none of this works. I'm empty, I feel empty. I start to look within, and then you have this articulate, autodidact comedian who can actually express that in ways that most people can't. It was, as much as I would have loved to have trumped, and I did at times break out of a linear structure, I really needed to set up the story that way, I feel like, because it is that story of making that, of him taking everything to the hilt. All the things that we wish we could have, he got them, and they don't mean anything.
Yes.
Hello. I thought it was an incredible film. So yeah, it was brilliant. So I'm called Andy. I come from London, England, and for me, the thing that annoys me is that a lot of people in England, there's a huge, huge amount of cynicism aimed at Russell Brand in England. Even people who I would consider, you know, left-wing liberal thinkers, people who are my friends, just automatically hate him because they think he's a bit of a twat. And to the point where they can't even see what he stands for. They just see him as a twat and they dismiss it as some sort of pseudo-intellectual nonsense. And I was just wondering, were you aware of the level of cynicism, and at any point were you worried maybe about the impact it might have on your image as a filmmaker, that you were aligning yourself so closely to someone who's quite hated, really?
After she answers, I have a follow-up question for you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. All right, this is getting rowdy. First of all, did you see the headlines?
I hope I'm not in trouble.
No, gosh, no. Like a spoiled brat,
Yeah,
megalomaniacal nonsense, he'll make you all homeless. I mean, how do you think it felt for him to watch that? I mean, I picked those quotes, me and my team. We put them on screen. I'm well aware. Charlie Phillips says it, who's in the room tonight from The Guardian. You know, he was a joke in popular culture and now is one of the most important political voices. And I know that a lot of people don't feel that way. And I don't really feel like I'm taking a stand with this. For me, the motivation, the inspiration, and the action of stepping out of line the way he has is the point to me, you know? And I feel like, I think the word will spread and people will watch it, but I didn't make this to ease his campaign and whatever the heck he's gonna do next, you know? I made it because I think overall, the fact that you would be a Hollywood star who could be making millions of dollars doing comedies and then leave. I didn't know, he lived in LA when I started this project, and next thing you know, I interviewed his housekeeper, that didn't make the cut. My team was like, are you crazy? His housekeeper's crying, saying, he was gonna come back in 3 months, where is he? He left, you know, he's not ever been back to this house. It sits empty. I think he's renting it now, but like, he's never come back. You know, and I see a lot of Hollywood celebrities do incredible things for charitable causes and things, but they're not out there doing that. And whether it's motivated by a desire for immortality and a certain kind of fame, or you know, or ego and narcissism, I think we explore those themes in the film. But what is important to me also is that he is doing it, and it should say to every single one of you, this is about a second coming that you can have in whatever way that is for you. That's why it's a second coming and not the second coming. And also, of course, there's a funny joke about that. But yeah, no, and I don't care about aligning myself with Russell Brand. I mean, that's fine. I think the film, obviously, he's not here. It's not like I drank the Kool-Aid, you know? I think I have a pretty clear perspective on who he is, and I'm inspired by him. I have a lot of respect for him, but I also obviously see that guy, you know, all his foibles, and I didn't leave them out, and I think that's, I don't know, it's gonna be clear, but maybe not. Maybe I'll just be dismissed by the British. Hopefully not.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm sometimes even afraid to mention to people, this is my weakness, that I'm a fan of his, because people judge it. I feel like they're going to judge me for liking him. And so, you know, now, after watching that film, I'm thinking, I don't give a shit now. Now I'm just going to say it to everyone.
Right on.
Because it's just all there, isn't it? So thanks for...
Shed all that insecurity anyway. Let that be the first of
yeah.
all your insecurity.
Well,
and
you've just done that, so...
Good.
Thanks, yeah.
Excellent. You made me happy. What's your question? Are you going to make me unhappy?
No. It was this, and it's not really for you to answer. It's just this film is so multi-textured and so fascinating and so intimate, and there's a real person there. So the question is, will this film change some of your cynical friends' attitude? And I wondered if you think it will.
Yeah, because I just think that you can't not be affected by what we've just seen, and so much of it is just so real and true. It's just a case of people being brave enough to stand up to it. And the more that we rally around together, the more I think we can actually make a difference. But I did struggle to... I've struggled to think that an individual can make a difference. I'm one of those that sort of thinks, oh, if I don't shop at Tesco, no one's going to care. It's just my £5. Thanks. And I'm starting to think that maybe...
Okay, we're good.
That's amazing. Yeah, so. Thank you. And Tesco, you shouldn't shop at Tesco.
I do want to say, from our festival standpoint, I was actually very moved by the statement that he put out today. We expected him to be here. We would have loved to him be here. I've never met him, but I was deeply moved with sort of how real and gracious and, you know, acknowledging what an incredible artist Gandhi was, and his apology to us and the South by Interactive. So I really appreciated that very much.
Have you seen that statement? How many have you? Check it out. It's all over the place. It happened a few hours ago. We all discovered that Russell wasn't going to be here tonight.
So it's your night. It's your night. That's what he wanted to do.
Maybe so. He is pretty genius, actually. So maybe so.
Last question.
Nice job, Ondi.
Thank you.
Proud of you.
Thank you.
In a film about transformation, I'm curious what sort of transformations you went through while making it.
Oh, gosh, Yarrow. And I know this one. He's a disruptor, too. Okay, what transformations did I go through? I learned so much. I always learn so much. That's why I love making documentaries. I learn about the subject matter, but I also learn about myself in relation to it. You know, working with Russell, like I mentioned, was really difficult because he did attempt to control every situation. And so my ninja skills and Jedi skills were honed to get in there and to get, all that. So that I learned and learned and learned as an artist. And also what would open him up and when to talk to him, his rhythms. What I needed in terms of a team in the field with particularly this subject, you know, how many people could be around, what kind of equipment. You know, we used a digital Bolex, and they're here tonight. Thank you to Digital Bolex. We used cannons, all sorts of cannons, C100s, C300s for the main photography, but also, you know, the 7D, God bless it, and GoPro. We used GoPros at night and on the stage, and Super 8, you know, and it was just all of that. But then in the post-production process, Russell did have a lot of issues, and I did have creative control. But he really had a hard time with that, and we really had to work together to get to, you know, I wanted to hear his feedback. I think he's a great artist, and he loved the work that I was doing along the way, which is why he let me keep filming him, because he actually doesn't like to be filmed for a documentary, and this documentary had become really tiring to him, even when he seduced me into taking it over. I said, wait, you've seduced me to making a documentary that you're now running from me, hiding behind your car. I mean, it was really a game of cat and mouse. And so I learned a lot from just working with him, and when he would ask me to change things, you know, because he was going through this this really painful process of facing what you just saw come out. He, you know, the vulnerability and all of this personal stuff that he didn't really want to share. He was facing that. I would realize what are columns of the house and what is the furniture, if that makes sense. And I really wanted to work with Russell and make him happy, but I also needed to protect the film, and I have to compliment this woman right here, because it was a real crisis at Sundance around that time, and we met, and I knew that, and Janet's immediate response was, you know, at one point Russell was really uncomfortable with it even ever playing here, and I was horrified because we'd already accepted opening night, and I told Janet, and she said, well, South by was founded on the principles of freedom of speech and expression. I'm going to show your cut. And I swear to God, I went from just having extended, I call it OTSD, Ondi Timoner stress disorder, ongoing traumatic stress disorder, to having like a sense of peace that no matter what, my film that I put so much time into and that my team had worked so tirelessly on would see the light of day in Texas. Russell Brand has also let go, and because of all the work that he's done on himself, he's come to a place of courage and acceptance and let go, and supported me as an artist, and today called me beautiful things in this statement, and you know, was complimentary about South by. And so I'm sorry he can't be here. I'm sure you would have given him a standing ovation had he been here. But great dress. Standing. Thank you. Yeah, if you wanted to give him one, you should give him one, and I'll take a picture of it. How about that? How about we end it with that? Can we? Okay. For me? Okay, well, we'll pretend it's for him. It's for us. With your phone? Okay. Great. Standing ovation for Russell.
It's a film that's meant to be as intimate as humanly possible. So the subjects were very primal: the mom, the dad, the sister, the girlfriend, the wife, and the best friend. And I didn't feel that we necessarily needed two representatives of Nirvana to represent Kurt's interest at that time. That said, I didn't want to be in this situation where I was at a screening and the first question was about Dave.